Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least.
What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I'm your co-host, Coach Willie Blake. I'm here with my other co-host, Ian Sturmer, and our guest, founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Covey Jr. And I got to say, if you are the guest on a lot of episodes, are you really a guest?
That's it.
The answer is yes. So we are jumping. We're jumping into the book that we've been studying this month, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And today we're in the green room just a minute before, and we're thinking about what is the topic we want to discuss. And John threw out the idea, well, why don't we pick one that we want to work on, and all three of us can go from there. And then I asked, what is the one that we want to work on before we jump into it? And all three of us pretty much came to the consensus we need to work on putting first things first. So we're like, that sounds like the topic for today. So today we're jumping into first things first, and cool enough, I even have a book by Stephen R. Covey, First Things First, because there is so much that goes into it that he had to write a whole nother book just to fill that principle. This is an important principle. Like you think about in the 7 habits, the first 3 habits are there to go from being dependent to then independent. And then the other 3 are there to go from independence to interdependence. And so from being dependent to independent, you are going from needing to rely on other things in an unhealthy way, right? Interdependence is you can do it, but don't have to. Dependence is you're not doing it and you need other people's help in a negative way. And so how to go past that is the being proactive and putting first things first. And I know for myself, one of the things that helped me out as we start this whole discussion is I have so many Post-it notes on my computer, not the physical ones, just like the digital Post-it notes. And one thing that's worked out really well for me is having it layered of importancy with the to-do list or task that I have, where A is like needs to get done, B is that's the next ones that need to get done, C is like, yeah, they're right there, and D is like, well, you should probably delegate that because they're not really that important. And then I number them from importance within their subcategory. So that's helped me out a lot to try to put first things first, because I don't know about you, I have a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And I tend to go for either the easier ones first or the more fun and entertaining ones over the hard but necessary ones. I don't know. Do you guys have that same struggle?
Yeah, I tend to catch my Pokemon before I write my book chapter.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say something like as I'm reading this, and I love this principle because we always tend to go back to time management, right? Time management seems to be a recurring thing we either need to master, work on, or it's just a greater reminder of where my priorities are at. And one of the things that I realized is, and this is what everyone wants to hear, it's not your fault. Everyone wants to hear that. They want to know it's not because of you, okay? And I'll tell you this: it's not your fault because habits can be generational. And let me explain for just a second. Habits can be generational. If you have the lineage of a farming family, it is your lineage to get up early and to do hard things first. But if you have the lineage of non-farming, non-baker family, and perhaps you're like a steel mill, or whatever your lineage might be way back in your ancestry, it's possible that the habits established by those people could have been less important habits than the ones that you're trying to master. And it is biological. These things carry on from DNA to DNA. However, they can be reversed, they can be eradicated, and they can be overcome. And so sometimes it's nice to hear that, because it is a thing where you can shift over and realize, it isn't my fault. I feel better about that. And sometimes you just need to have that weight taken off, because the opposite of what I'm about to say is, look, it could all be your fault, and we are responsible for 100% of the things that are within our control. And that leads to needing discipline. And discipline for time management is a tough deal. I mean, Willie, you just shot off a couple great techniques that you use to manage your time and to get things done first, right? Ian, I love the idea. I catch Pokemon before I do this, and I love that, because that's not only a choice, but it's something that's deep within us. So I'm half right and I'm half wrong. It is not your fault. Right now, it's within your control. That's basically how I wanted to start this out.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking as you were saying that, and trying to put it in perspective, and seeing whether I agree or disagree. And I'm on the fence a little bit about it, but I think what's happened before is not your fault. What's in the past is in the past, but what you do going forward is your fault. We all have, you mentioned DNA and biology, and a while ago I learned that gambling addiction is hereditary. They've shown that even if like your parents didn't gamble, but your grandfather who you never met was addicted to it, that addiction is passed down. And there's things that genetically are in our bodies, that we have an addiction to gambling, or alcoholism is another one that's shown to be genetically addictive. Those we can't control, whether or not we have a predisposition to be addicted to something, but we absolutely can control how we react to that. And I shouldn't use the word react when our topic is first things first. But if we know there's a problem, we can overcome that. And we realize, okay, the first thing is don't go to Vegas, or don't go down the beer aisle, or don't open your phone if you know that that's an addiction and a distraction. And Willie gave a great tip a while ago I'll throw out there. If you're addicted to your phone, put it in a black and white mode, and it makes it much less fun to, especially playing those color matching games. It's really hard with a black and white one. But you can take those steps first so that you don't have a problem later on. So I think part of first things first is to put yourself in the situation where you are not going to have the problems. You're not going to have the distractions. You're not going to have the issues coming up. So recognizing that maybe the first thing you need to do is create an atmosphere that's conducive to who you want to be, and taking yourself out of those atmosphere that is going to distract you and be detrimental to you. So that's my first thing, is put yourself in the right position, the right place first, so that you can move from there.
And it's so important, like the way that you surround yourself by what you want, I think is so underestimated in society today, because we have more control than we think that we do. Like just these last couple weeks, we have been bombarded on social media with political sides, with assassinations, with so much stuff going on. And you start to see that there becomes this like divide, or however you want to put it, of people just not finding common ground and just being angry at whatever information is out there. yes, it's all out there in that, but we also get to decide what's on our feed page. Like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn, they're there and they show us things that we want to watch. They show us things that we want to read. And they do that with this thing called an algorithm. And the algorithm is basically a fancy word for, you like this, I'm going to show you more of it. You don't like this, I'm going to show you less. And it's not even us liking or disliking it. It's, I spend time watching this. I don't spend time watching this. And so if you think about it that way, whatever social media is showing you is a reflection of how you are inside and using your time. I know that sounds kind of weird, but social media is not going to show you something that you're not going to watch or see or anything like that. So when you look at that and based off of what Ian was saying, what you surround yourself by is important, because if all you're getting is negativity, if all you're getting is just the bad side of things and people being angry, well, then it just makes a little bit of sense. Maybe a lot of bit of sense that you might become angry too. And so how important is it when we put first things first, if we put the things that we prioritize, our values, our principles, if we put those first, I think it might just be a little bit crazy, but maybe a little bit of making sense that the things in which happen in our life are more valued and principle centered.
Yeah, I'll jump in there too. And per your point earlier, Willie, putting first things first is on the dependence side of habit creation. And it's actually one of the bridges to it's the bridge to independence. And when it comes to moments of independence, okay, our ability to thrive is our ability to control what's in front of us. And I believe that time management is one of those things that gives us that power, that lead. And without it, we tend to become victims of the algorithm per se. And I love that you said that. In this book, in light of like trying to recap and share share my thoughts on this, I love the management matrix system that he creates. It's a quadrant box system. And I'm such a visual person. So like anything from time management to to-do lists to tasks and goals, I have to see it. I literally, my $1 million coaching method, the one that I get paid the big bucks to do, is called the whiteboard method. And when people schedule coaching calls with me, I take them straight to the drawing board. Literally, we throw everything up on a whiteboard and we see what sticks. And then we start to draw arrows and organize things. And we start to see it differently, because visualization is a powerful key tool in prioritization. So this quadrant system, I always laugh at it, because if you think of a quadrant, you think of a x-axis and a y-axis, and I know most of you are listening, not watching, so I'll spare you the details. But there's two sides to this. There's the urgent side, and then there's the non-urgent side. And then the closest to the quadrant, or the closest to the axis, is unimportant versus important. And I always laughed at this, and I always thought, okay, what's urgent but not important? And to be honest, a lot of things. And I always thought that was so silly. I thought, why on earth are there urgent but unimportant things? And to be honest, there's a lot. Like, there's urgency on a lot of my apps telling me, you gotta go check this out. Oh, notifications, check this out. That's not important. Nothing's life-changing that's going to be in a little red dot on my phone. Maybe a text message, but those are usually work-related. And it's the same thing as an email. Emails can be addressed the same day or within 72 hours. Who cares? But urgent and important, those are the things you need to look at. And I think it's just easy to look at those things, identify them, and see what fits. Because if you put the quadrant at the top of your journal, your day planner, whatever it might be, you can quickly come up with a lot of unimportant but urgent tasks versus the urgent and important tasks. And then everything else, not urgent and not important activities, put them off to the side. I know that literally you can come back to them. They'll always be there. But I just think it's a powerful reminder to all of us that you can organize time management. You literally, it's an oxymoron. You can organize it by putting it somewhere where it's going to be important and urgent to you. And that's a good way to build this habit.
Yeah, I love that. And so much of this kind of blends together as I think about first things first and being proactive, and maybe I'm merging some of those ideas. But, the important, non-urgent things sometimes become urgent if we're not putting the right things first. There's kind of an old joke that, I need to fix my roof, but it only leaks when it's raining. So it's only important when it's raining, or it's only urgent when it's raining, but it's important all the time. And knowing to put those first things first, again, building that foundation, what's truly important, and doing those important things first is going to prevent a lot of urgent things that would happen down the road. There's a lot of times we can fix the roof, but the only time we need to fix it is the one time we can't fix it because it's raining, and don't go on your roof when it's raining. Just a little free tip for you guys out there. But by organizing that, putting those first things first, there's a quote from Hiram Smith, who's the founder of Franklin Day Planners, later joining with the Covey group, is you control your life by controlling your time. So when you look at time management, you have control over so much of that. And if you look at those quadrants and put the truly important things first, you're going to find that so many of the other things don't creep in to be urgent. Or as we get used to this idea, we find that what we used to think was urgent becomes less urgent. Like you said, John, the notification on your phone, once you understand that it probably is not anything that actually needs to be taken care of, we move that from the urgent to the non-urgent. We recognize that we don't have to pay attention to that. And it frees so much of our time up by getting rid of those things that are not important. I'll finish this little comment with a joke from Mitch Hedberg, if you've ever heard of him. Said, I was watching TV and this commercial came on and it said, forget everything you know about mattresses. So I did. And my life was so much simpler. But I'll finish with that and pass it over to Willie.
I'll quickly add too. I think Willie might be frozen.
Oh,
real quick. It's when building a house, if you start with the roof, I love the roof example, but if you start with the roof, you're putting something first that has no infrastructure, has no walls, has no foundation. And so the roof can be built first, but it will have to be assembled last until the rest of the things come. So if you prioritize the roof, great, woohoo, you've got a roof. And it'll be really interesting to install that roof once everything else is done. So look at that in all of your tasks and goals. If you were to just imagine your tasks and goals as a house being built, what needs to come first? Probably a foundation, probably some of the biggest things. Pouring concrete, making sure that all of your pillars are in the right place, right? Your load-bearing walls. Anyways, I just think it's a great example. Thanks for sharing that, Ian.
Yes, now that I'm unfrozen. Thank you for sharing that. As we are coming to a close, I want to share with you guys from the book, if you guys are watching video, First Things First by Stephen R. Covey, that he goes into a lot more of this thing. At the first part, I want to share this. He says, rather than focusing on time and things, First Thing First emphasizes relationships and results. And instead of efficiency, this new approach emphasizes effectiveness. First Thing First shows why we feel a gap between how we spend our time and what's deeply important to us. How focusing on efficiency and control increases the gap instead of closing it. how to determine if what we are doing is really important or only urgent, why your inner compass is more important than any clock, how to set and achieve principle-centered goals, how to turn your weeks into an upward spiral of learning and living, how to overcome tremendous gravity of habit, how to turn your resolutions into reality, how to put people ahead of schedules, how to lead your life, not just manage your time. Like, there's so much that goes into this principle. And if any of those resonated with you champions that are listening, take some time to learn more about this principle from Stephen R. Covey. First things first, whether that's reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or reading First Things First, what he does, or we got YouTube. You can watch a video if that's the way that you like to learn, or re-listen to this episode because we got some good stuff in there, because it is such an important principle. Because when you put first things first, the things that matter most get done, and you still have time for the rest.
I was just going to show my hand as like an airplane landing because I've been loving listening to Willie's last comments and few things that help this episode and these recordings just go so smoothly. I love that. I love that principle. It was a mic drop moment for me. So thank you for sharing that. My last thoughts are just continue to build and create powerful plans of action, and by doing that, just learning how to master your time. Pick up this book. Seriously, it's a great visual. Whether you have the old school blue version, it's going to look like that, and if you have the new school version, which is red and yellow, it's fantastic. And then it even has like workbooks that come with it. But go grab a copy. It's a classic. You need to read this at least once a year. Or if you really struggle to establish these habits, you might need to read it more often than you think. So go for it, and you make it your own world, your own real life curriculum.
Yeah, so I guess when you say first things first, maybe the first thing is if you haven't read this book, go read it.
There you go.
Because I was kind of thinking, I think in analogies, we need to eat. That's a biological necessity. But before we eat, we need to actually go get a hold of food. Whether it's purchasing or hunting, whatever it is, we need to create a situation where we're able to do those things that are really, truly important. And getting this book, reading it, learning the principles, without having that foundation, just like the roof, it's not going to be successful. We're going to be just chasing after the same problems over and over again. So first thing, listen to our podcast. Second thing, go get the book. We'll put priorities here. But really this book is so good, and it's I think the best foundation of anyone I've read to teach us these principles of how to put the first things first in our life and not have to be chasing after the urgent, unimportant, but instead taking care of those important things.
Well said. And with that, Champions wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in it, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll be able to find links to the podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be the champions in your life. Continue to grow and do what you need to make it better. And always remember to put first things first. Otherwise, you'll end up alphabetizing your sock drawer while your life is on fire. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.